We're going to talk about internal audit now. Internal audit could be the most important measurement activity that you do. So this is important. Here are the internal audit requirements. It says the organization shall conduct internal audits at planned intervals to provide information. And the information is about conformity to the requirements of the quality management system, your own internal requirements, or the requirements of the international standard. And you also have to effectively implement and maintain the quality management system. In the second clause of this, it says that the organization shall plan, establish, implement, and maintain an audit program that talks about the frequency, methods, responsibilities, planning requirements, and reporting. Defines the scope and audit criteria for each audit, selects auditors to ensure impartiality, take appropriate corrective actions without undue delay, and retain documented information. And there's an ISO standard 19011 that's to be retained for guidance on this. So here's some internal audit things to avoid. The first one is having a plan and not doing it. That's generally a thing to avoid throughout the ISO standard. Next one is no rules for documentation and no one gets the notifications. Next one is unqualified auditors, although I would rather have an unqualified but enthusiastic auditor versus a qualified but bored one. Next one is an auditor that is not impartial. It used to be that the auditors were expected not to audit their own work, and that's kind of the underlying expectation on this, but it doesn't actually come right out and say that, but auditors are expected to be impartial. Next one is auditors not finding anything. That's not good. Next one is not documenting the areas of nonconformity, which is the auditors find something, but they don't write it down and they don't know how to document it properly. Next one is no rules as to corrections or corrective actions. You'd be surprised how many internal audits I find a nonconformity is discovered, but no corrective action is issued and no correction is issued, so I don't know whatever happened to the finding. Another one is areas of nonconformity ignored. That kind of goes with the one just above, which is if you don't have documentation that you fixed something, the assumption is made that you ignored it. And then the last one is the same items on internal audits year after year. That's a sign that findings aren't being addressed and findings aren't being fixed. I have much more to say on this. Here are my internal audit red flags, what I look for when I actually audit the internal audit. First one is no findings. Somebody goes along and checks the boxes hurriedly and said everything's okay, we're cool, we're good. And a lot of times they're not cool and good. Next one is internal auditors auditing themselves. That actually happens quite a bit. Next one is nothing gets fixed. People have findings, but there's no corrective actions and no objective evidence that something got done about any of it. In my experience, internal audits are usually affected by the registrar audits. If the registrars aren't finding anything, then the internal auditors don't find anything either. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone in behind some other external registrar auditor, found a bunch of nonconformities, and found out that the internal audit isn't finding nonconformities either, and it's problematic. One of the jobs of the external auditor is to train up internal auditors in a way. I can tell you much more about this. I do internal auditing and have some things to say about it, so click my contact information.